Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 6 of our Let's Learn series for Victoria 3, where we are playing as Portugal and taking it from a minor power back to a major or maybe even a great power that it once was and rightfully deserves to be. Now, I have adjusted the sound volumes again, guys. I think my voice is on the same level, but I've reduced the sounds pretty much of the music and of any effects and ambient sounds by about 20%. So let me know if this sounds better, as some people have found my voice to be a little bit too quiet. But yeah, other than that, we are in May 1832. We have unpaused finally after 5 episodes to actually progress a couple of years into the game. And we have... what have we done so far? Just as a quick recap, we've rejigged our government, throwing out the landowners and putting the Catholic Church and petite bourgeoisie in. I've explained why, and that is mainly because they offer a good transition to certain laws that we like, and we have had a movement to enact dedicated police emerge, and we have taken that and gone with that movement and passed dedicated police. Why? Because it gives better bonuses. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Sorry guys, my Steam going off. Yep, so I just pause and respond to some messages. But yeah, we passed dedicated police force mainly because it trades off a bit of the reduction in state penalty from turmoil. That's when you have a lot of radicals, which we don't really have, to minus 5% radical gain in radicals from standard of living decreases. And importantly, in the major difference with local police force for us is that it actually took away some power from the landowners, which have at the start of the game held 50% of all political strength in our nation, but have now gone down to 36%. Now another movement has emerged after that, as people, the people in our nation probably felt, well, especially the intelligentsia, the rural folk, and the trade unions, which are kind of all, well, rural folk and trade unions are marginalized, but they can still make their voice heard, as well as the people who are actually, importantly for political movements. If we go to support, right, so we can see that there's 20 of support because of the clout of the 3 interest groups. So the trade unions don't really matter, they have 0.2% clout. Rural folk also don't matter, but there are 450,000 of the population that support this particular movement. Obviously peasants and laborers, and they support homesteading. Right, so a movement has emerged that had a decent amount of support. And what is homesteading? It's farmers lay claim to plots of land which they work alongside their hired laborers. So a big change for our society, and a good one, I would say. Again, takes away power from landowners and puts it into the hands of the people who actually work the land. 25% political strength of farmers. Farmers are middle strata, kind of, so these aren't really peasants. It's important to kind of understand. They're middle strata, sort of managers or owners of farms. And when enacted, homesteading also makes them more likely to support petite bourgeoisie. So with this movement and with this change in this law, we're hoping to reform our nation and make the middle class more powerful, make farmers more powerful, make landowners less powerful, and therefore, overall tilt our nation towards some progressive reforms here, and especially gain more support for petite bourgeoisie. Now, unfortunately, given this came on the back of, moving away from a local police force, the landowners have become extremely angry, and they have started a movement to preserve tenant farmers. But because of how radical they are, this will actually lead to a revolution when, and with a certain time, right? So it depends on just how radical they are, and they're very radical, right? You can see angry plus 163, and that's because they have 36% of clout. I'm not sure why this gets multiplied by 300%, if I'm really honest with you. I'm not sure. But the important thing is they do have a lot of clout, and they're very angry. And they want tenant farmers preserved. However, look, the rest of the nation is moving on. They have established a base in Braga, in the state of Beira. And that means that if we pass this law now, before the revolution kind of timer goes to 100%, then they will just acquiesce and just put up with it, and they will abandon the revolutionary movement. If, however, we do not pass it and the revolution reaches 100%, they will start a revolution. That means they will take over the state of Beira and whatever military buildings are there. Now, luckily, there's only 2 barracks there. Let's have a look at our military in general. Just have an overview of the military screen. That's kind of a mini tutorial. So we have 10 battalions right now, split across 3 armies, which frankly shouldn't even really be the case. But so we can first of all just use this opportunity to actually merge our armies and deploy them. And we say, yep, so there's the reason we have 3 armies is that because each army can be stationed in a particular HQ. So for example, right now, 1st Portuguese army is stationed in Congo here. We have 2nd Portuguese army stationed at Zanj HQ. These are the key like strategic regions, or well, actually, or provinces. And 3rd Portuguese army is stationed at Iberia HQ, right? So this is the 6 battalions. Now, where they're actually sourced from, right? The battalions, it depends on their barracks. So we have 2 barracks. That means 2,000 men in Alentejo, and we have how many? 2 in Extremadura, and the rest are probably in local provinces. This is what we have. So we will lose 2 battalions here, but that is okay. Let's do the following, for example. Let's then we could mobilize. I guess we can't actually mobilize while the revolution is in progress, but what we can do is just thinking, do we merge these? Do we bring additional troops from Congo? I think we do. All right, so if we go to the 1st Portuguese army, we can go to transfer military units to another army. We can pick the 3rd Portuguese army. How many units? Oh, line infantry. Seems like it's composed of the locals here. But let's say we do transfer it. We might have to bring the colonial troops back home to defend us. That's travel time 6 weeks. That's okay. That's how long it takes for the revolution to progress. So let's go ahead and do it. Are you sure you want to transfer the entirety of 1st Portuguese army into 3rd Portuguese army? Yes. We do want that. 2nd Portuguese army. Let's click on that. Let's also transfer that 2 units into the 3rd army. Sorry, 2 units. Transfer. Confirm. Again, it's going to ask, are you sure you want to transfer the entirety of the 2nd Portuguese army? Yes. Let's go ahead and unpause. And we'll just see what happens. We should now gather all of our troops in our capital. We do have a little hope that we can pass this law. We now have 29% success chance. Hopefully, and why is it 29%? Again, intelligentsia, who is in government, and they endorse this law. They have 9.5% clout. No one else in our government actually endorses this law, although luckily no one actually opposes it either. But also the movement, as we just saw, of homesteading. Interesting, it's actually, 20, It has a total clout of 20%. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from... sorry, the movement is down here. It comes from 9.5 clout in intelligentsia, again, supporting that movement. So it actually kind of counts twice, you could say, from supporting the movement and from being in government. Then 3% from rural folk, but also just from 500,000 peasants. All right, so their political support there goes directly into a movement. And this is, I explained that when we were composing the government. This is a way in the game for both interest groups out in opposition and even, marginalized interest groups to sometimes make their voice heard and put some pressure on the government. And that the mechanic for that is to create a political movement. Similarly, if as I mentioned before, if you have interest groups in government, but you're not passing any laws that they want, they can actually also do a petition for government, but it's a slightly different mechanic, where they simply petition, write sort of a letter to, the head of government, i.e. you, the player, and say, look, you have 4 years to pass what we want, otherwise we're going to get really upset. So it doesn't reach a revolution, but they will get extremely angry at you for something like 10 years. Again, we'll probably see that come up. Now, aside from counting down for this revolution, what else is going on? So we are building these paper mills. Hopefully we finish them before the revolution begins, just so we can at least not waste our construction progress. Oh, there you go. I think that's our military. No, that's actually yes it is. Yeah, so it's the 2 battalions coming from overseas back home to be stationed in Iberia. It doesn't look like we... yeah, we cannot mobilize. Country must be part of a diplomatic play. Yeah. So there we go. So we now have 8 battalions here. And then we have 2 more coming somewhere. They're probably sailing. Let's have a look. Where are they? We can even find. So you see this supply line. That means from Zanj. Goes all the way back home. Yeah, here it is. Here's the 2 battalions coming from Zanj. Now let's slow this down a little bit and let's read these. Dissenters break ranks. A stall event. Alright, so we haven't had this when we were passing dedicated police force because we had such a high success chance. But now we've had our success, our stall chance right now is 37.6. Why is that? Because from opposing political movements, preserve tenant farmers, 37.6. Right, this is chance to stall. That means chance to kind of this event where kind of nothing happens or kind of something negative really happens, right? Whereas we have 29.5% chance for this to progress to the next phase, or 21.5% chance for something positive to happen. Typically to either increase the success chance for the next checkpoint, or or kind of something else. Yeah, and debate will kind of also means kind of an event where not much has happened. So let's have a look. Dissenters break ranks, a stall event for the enactment of homesteading. To outside observers, the intelligentsia may appear firmly committed to the idea of homesteading, but behind this facade of unity, discord has long festered. Now, a clique of dissenters have finally had enough and have officially broken with their fellow members over the issue of reform. Oh, intelligentsia, backtracking. Let's see, what can we do? Splitters, may the devil take them, so we can get minus 50% enactment success chance. But that also also get minus 50% interest group pop attraction. Yeah, so not great. So make intelligentsia less powerful temporarily, but also lose half of our success chance. We don't want that. We can loosen our purse strings. Perhaps we can lure some. Some of them back. So again, kind of maintain the power, or reduce the loss of power of intelligentsia. Reduce the impact on enactment success, but we're going to have to spend 600 as a special expense for 2 years out of our budget. Now, or we can offer them custodianship over new draft, and that actually increases the success chance of passing this. Oh, the enactment of homesteading will gain 1 setback, and you can only gain 3 setbacks before passing of the law is abandoned. You will get plus 10% enactment time. So that means every checkpoint will now occur 110 days rather than 100 days. But intelligentsia gives minus 5% interest group pop attraction. I think we'll go with this. Offer them custodianship over a new draft. Right. So we want this to pass ideally now. So you see, so now this has passed a little bit. So it's actually about 110 days now for every checkpoint. But we have increased the success chance at least. And in the medium term, we will decrease the power of the intelligentsia. Maybe even throw them out of government entirely. Now, vultures upon a carcass, event for the revolutionary movement to preserve tenant farmers. Opportunistic members of armed forces have defected to the landowners' cause. So be it. 20% interest group attraction for landowners, minus 20% for armed forces. Or try to coax some of them back. Yeah, I think let's dampen the effect of their political attraction, because we don't want them to gain clout, right? We don't want people to flock to those interest groups, increase their clout, thereby increasing the support for this revolutionary movement, and also increasing the stall chances for passing of our law, right, given landowners are the ones opposing it. That will cost us minus 5% bureaucracy for 2 years. So let's try to coax some of them back. Boom, we'll lose 15% bureaucracy. We'll gain it back in 2 years. So that's kind of okay. All right. So let's keep the time rolling. Okay, Great Britain signed a peace agreement with the Great Qing, ending the state of hostilities between them. Okay, good to know. Our private sector is building coal mines in Alentejo. Now, about military. Okay, so we do have 8 battalions now stationed in Lisbon, getting ready for this potential showdown. Now, yeah, we can just maybe talk about how the military works, sorry, as I promised. So there you go. We actually have 2nd Portuguese army coming here as well. Yeah, there it is. Right now we have just one single 3rd Portuguese army stationed at Iberia HQ. So if we did mobilize them, which we can't do yet, right? So right now they're just kind of stationed in peacetime, living in their barracks, maybe doing some training. We have 10 battalions out of 60. Why is it 60? That's because 60 is the command limit. And that is because Antonio José Severin de Noronha is actually he's a major general, right? As opposed to, I think, a brigadier, who I think initially they can only command up to 30. Again, I think we'll see the major general, level 2, plus 60 command limit, plus 5% interest group political strength. So every general. Okay, let's talk about general army stats, and then we'll talk about generals, since that's the leader of this. I can actually pin this. We actually don't need to pin it to outliner because we will always see it. Now, so here, we can go to this army, but just briefly, we can have a look here. So attrition, there's no attrition now, but once they go into the field, onto the front line, we will start losing men from attrition. And frankly, that's probably often a bigger source of losses than actual combat. Now, average morale of military units in 3rd Portuguese is 100%, right? Current supply of 3rd Portuguese army is 100%. So, morale is, whenever there's combat, it's the unit that loses its morale first that starts to retreat, right? But while the battle is going on, they're also taking casualties. But they don't retreat because they run out of men. You retreat because you run out of morale. 3rd Portuguese upkeep, okay, it costs £1,000 to upkeep. Why? Because expenses for goods are 1,000 for small arms, right? Expenses by buildings, okay, they all basically cost the same. It's 92%, 92.8 organization, and they're actually gaining organization. I guess maybe this is because they just moved around. Maybe that's why they lost a little bit. Due to low organization, 3rd Portuguese army suffers the following effects: minus 2% offense, defense, minus 9% morale recovery, minus 4% recovery rate. Okay, then we have demobilized unit group here, so it's all 10 line infantries. So what are the actions we can take? Well, we can station them at different HQs. We have 7 options available, right? So it can be Senegal, Congo, South China, Indonesia, right? So we can move them around to our provinces around the world where we have a military HQ. And again, you can't move them directly to Alentejo. It's just the world is split into these military regions. And you can just assign a different HQ, and as you conquer, territory, you will move your army, so they will progress themselves towards a different strategic region, and be therefore stationed in that region. There you go. So, see, organization has gone back up to 100. I think this is because they've traveled, they've landed, right? They were a bit disorganized after that journey. Now, let's have a look at heavy-handedness. Event for the revolutionary movement to preserve tenant farmers. Maria de Braganca, our monarch, mistook an enemy in the armed forces. After accusing them with false charges, moderates in the armed forces defected to the landowners' cause. Their bedfellows may not be so accommodating. Okay, what do you have? Change progress of civil war by plus 5%. One of 2 options will happen. 50% chance of armed forces gets positive partnership for 2 years. Plus 5% interest group political strength. So everyone who's already in it will, will gain plus 5% interest group political strength. That means their clout will go up. Same for landowners. And plus 10% interest group pop attraction, which means that over time, more people will flock towards this interest group. That's 50% chance of that happening, and 50% chance of Antonio José Severum de Noronha gets defection backfired for 2 years, minus 15% interest group pop attraction. Now, who is this? This is the general. He's leading our armies, but he's also aligned with the interest group of armed forces. So that's interesting. Or Maria de Braganca should stand down. Wow, changes of progress civil war minus 5%. Maria de Braganca gets failures of judgment for 2 years, minus 10% interest group pop attraction that's intelligentsia, and minus 25 popularity. Oh, dearie me. Well, she's going to be with us for a very long time, so I think perhaps she should just stand down. That's what our government says. Although she is the monarch, she's head of state. But look, she should really stop interfering in politics. She's too young and inexperienced. So let's go ahead with that. We'll get minus 10% interest group pop attraction. Her interest group is intelligentsia, and she will get minus 5% popularity. So generally, intelligentsia will become less popular in our land for only 2 years. So that's okay. Let's just tell her to quiet down a bit, and we reduce the progress of a revolution by a little bit. Potentially, I don't think there's any way we can avoid it, to be honest, because every 6 weeks here there's a checkpoint, whereas our checkpoint for homesteading is every 100 days, which is far more than that. So it's like every 10 even like every 14 weeks. Yeah, so it looks like civil war is unavoidable. Let's have a look at these. Okay, the sealed paper is expensive. We're doing something about that now. Yeah, our budget is, yeah, in deficit. We do have some gold reserves, and obviously once we mobilize our armies, actually, I keep looking at our armies. Once we mobilize, we're going to have to start paying more for different mobilization options, which we'll see. So right now, so we've looked at this interface, right? We can also deploy armies to fronts or plan a naval invasion, right? Again, we'll see that when the war actually breaks out. We also need to mobilize them, and then you go estimated cost per week after we mobilize is we're going to supply 5 grain for 93. So actually, it won't be that much of a increase in cost. But let's have a look. So every army, here it is, and then every army has a general assigned to it. Every general, we can hire more of them, right? So and every general within an army raises its command limit, and also means it can participate in that number of battles. For example, so right now we can only participate in 1 battle at a time, right? Whereas if we had 2 generals, we'll participate in 2 battles at a time across a front, defensive or offensive. Right now we have just Antonio Jose Severim leading this. He's a major general, so we can promote him further, right, to lieutenant general. That does mean that his interest group will gain some political strength. We'll spend bureaucracy to maintain that, as we have seen in this menu here, right? So at the bottom, we spend bureaucracy on servicing our population, trade routes, and maintaining generals and admirals. Now, his role is, politician and general. All generals are aligned with an interest group, and it doesn't necessarily have to be armed forces. So if we click here, you see we could recruit a general from landowners, and he would then apply whatever benefits or malices he has to that interest group. Also important to know is that if you do have a general aligned with an interest group, then whenever there's a leadership change in that interest group, i.e. the current leader dies or retires, it will be the general of that interest group that will take over that interest group. So let's have a look at this guy. So it's just kind of as a normal leader of a character. Any character basically has these stats, and he's a Republican. So if he became a leader, our armed forces would then become Republican, right? This leader seeks to establish a republic ruled by elected officials, right? So he will endorse presidential republic and parliamentary republic, endorse elected bureaucrats, but only when he becomes the leader of the armed forces. In fact, let's just even check. Is he maybe already the leader? I actually don't know. Yes. Oh, yeah. He actually is already the leader of the armed forces. So he's not only aligned with them, he actually is the leader of the armed forces. Interesting. I actually kind of missed that. So a bit worrying that he is siding with the landowners, but not surprising either, given there is a big link between aristocracy and officers and armed forces in general. Now, okay, another event here, advance event for homesteading. Okay, so we didn't proceed to the next stage, but at least we got an advanced event, which is a positive event, right? Seeking to eliminate the need of middlemen by bringing together farmers, laborers, and shopkeepers in a cooperatively owned business, a newly formed pharmacists cooperative in Beira, desiring to improve the lot of their constituent members, have used their considerable local influence to push for the enactment of homesteading. Peasants influencing Lisbon, how quaint. We get 10% enactment success chance, excellent. Or laud their model of business as a vision of tomorrow's world. So then we get more loyalists among peasants, laborers, and shopkeepers, and we get 10% interest group political strength and 10% interest group political group attraction. And we don't particularly want rural folk to become more powerful, and gaining loyalists among these, especially lower strata, doesn't really matter, as we have seen before again, because they're politically unaligned. So we'd much rather take the enactment success chance here. And I go with 44. I mean, still not really going to let us avoid the civil war, but still, at least we actually managed to pass homesteading. Now, coming back to our general here, so he's Portuguese, neutral. Here, his character traits as tactful, right, and as interest group leader. So what is it? First of all, this character is very careful in how they convey certain informations. It unlocks the following orders for him, given he's a general, which is coordinated interception. Again, we'll see in a battle what this means. It basically some modifiers, temporary modifiers for each particular battle. Patiently seek out enemy vessels and attack in a coordinated, well-prepared battle. Okay, a bit of a typo here, but that's only actually applies if he's an admiral and he's a general, so this doesn't even matter. Troubles of the commons. Catholic Church used to be powerful. Oh, now they're merely influential, so So you see, okay, so let's just quickly talk about what happened here. So Catholic Church are no longer influential. They're no longer powerful. They're now influential. Why? Because their cloud has gone down below 18%. And that means any traits they have, like they have, for example, here, activated divine right, that is no longer doubled, right? It used when they're powerful, this effect doubles, and we would get plus 20% authority, right? And now we would need to breach the 20% threshold of cloud in order to become powerful again for them, right? But on the way down, there's a bit of leeway, and they need to come below 18% in order to lose that status, which unfortunately they have now lost. Why? I think this is because of those events that have just happened, which have pushed people towards landowners and given a lot of this commonality between kind of pops that support landowners and Catholic Church. So if there is more support for landowners, that means there's less support for Catholic Church, right? So you have to always remember that it's a zero-sum game. So if people are flocking towards landowners, they're flocking from somewhere, unless they're going from being politically unaligned to becoming politically aligned, right? They are flocking there from somewhere. And most likely it's the politically aligned pops that shift allegiances. And that is why we're losing Catholic Church, and landowners are unfortunately regaining some of that political strength here. Now, let's go to this event. This doesn't really matter too much for now since we have enough authority, but it would have... Well, actually, the reason it matters is because having excess authority gives us enactment time bonus, which we kind of desperately need right now. So it's not great that we lost that 10% effectively. It kind of made our enactment, yeah, there we go, our checkpoints in 143 days. Wow. Yeah, because of that 10% from the, you see here. So 10% from compromised draft, 50% from unacceptable government that we now have, because remember, landowners quit our government when they started a revolution. They resigned from it. And we have minus 3.5% bonus from legislative efficiency. So it takes a long time between phases. Yeah, so that's the law. So let's go ahead and read this event. Every tenancy of the landowners in Beira has rental prices beyond reasonable limits. Their tenants direct their ire at the government for not protecting them. Seize the ringleaders. So change of civil war by 10%. 5% aristocrats become more radical. Landowners gets detained landlords for 5 years, minus 10% interest group political strength. They ought to be charged with extortion. Civil war by 5%. Rural folk gets folk approval for plus 2. Or rent needs a stern limit. Change progress of civil war by minus 5%. 2% of aristocrats become radical. Beira gets light rent controls for 5 years, plus 1 standard of living for the lower strata. I mean, it's only temporary. And I would argue, it will kind of make them more lawyers. I would say, let's seize the ringleaders, since we are in a state of civil war. I mean, we're already at 70% anyway. I'll say, let's seize the ringleaders. So aristocrats become radical, but at least they lose political strength from other pops. Let's seize the ringleaders. Yeah, civil war is unavoidable now, really. Yep, so that's it for our general. Now, if we actually look at our, go to our army interface, it has similar sort of stats here. So we have 10,000 manpower because we have 10 battalions. Each battalion is always 1,000 men. 10 out of 60, so 60 command limit, and we have 10 battalions again. We have 100% morale, it costs 1,000 to maintain. We have offense average rating of 21 and defense rating of 26.2 on average. Why does it the 0.2? I think it's probably because some of our units have more experience, so they're like veterans or elite units, or at least like trained rather than just regular, just freshly trained troops. Organization is 100, that's because they just stood about and they've organized themselves. Attrition is 0 because they're not out in the field. Right, we have 1 commander here. Right, so units, default types, and recruitment. Right, so we have infantry, artillery, and cavalry in our armies. That will remain the same for the rest of the game. You need to have at least 50% of your army as infantry to avoid any penalties. Right, artillery and cavalry, then you can decide what you want. Artillery has a lot of basically high offense defense and high kill rate, so they actually inflict a lot of losses. It does cost artillery to maintain. Cavalry, on the other hand, also has, I mean, depending on the era, good offense defense, but they also have 30% battle occupation, so they're quite expensive to maintain. But that means that every time you do win a battle, you advance by more, and that means you capture states faster, right? So if we were at war with Spain and we wanted to take like the whole thing over, obviously every time we'd win a battle, we'd move, let's say, like half of the state. And without cavalry, we would just gain maybe like a couple of provinces. So we just take more battles, and it would take longer to actually conquer the land that you want to take, right? That's really the main benefit of cavalry. Just briefly, infantry is obviously kind of the bulk of your armies. First of all, you need at least 50% of them in your army, just to make sure it's kind of well balanced, and you have the troops to defend front lines and allow artillery to just position and fire, and cavalry to maneuver without being outflanked themselves. I guess that's how the game kind of represents this. Whereas, and the infantry is cheapest to maintain, but they also have good offensive defense, again, depending on techs. So we have 10 of these, and right now what's available to us is irregular infantry, then we have line infantry, and then as we go up with techs, look, France have declared Great Britain to be their rival. Okay, remember, Great Britain is kind of a bit of our ally. We have a defensive pact with them, and we have trade agreement with them. But there we go. We progressed to mechanized infantry. Through techs, with artillery, similarly, right now we have cannon artillery, then there's mobile artillery, shrapnel, siege, heavy tanks, and cavalry likewise goes up to light tanks in in the most modern tech, right, by the beginning of the 20th century. Again, so different stats. These aren't really options for us right now. I mean, cannon artillery could be, but right now we have 10 infantry, 10 line infantry, right? And line infantry, if we look at it, has 20 offense, 25 defense, 10 morale loss. That's how much it loses during a battle. Upkeep, we need 1 small ops at input. Organize in 2 to 4 ranks of soldiers to maximize their firepower. Pretty simple. All right, so that's kind of our army, no artillery. Oh, there we are. That's it. So another checkpoint was reached in the revolution, and revolution is now happening. But however, it doesn't start straight away. Right, so let's have a look. Landowners, noble privileges deactivated. Political movement to preserve tenant farmers has disbanded because they have launched a revolution. Okay, they've grown tired of waiting, and we have revolution is upon us. Right, revolution. Oh, okay, fine. Now, has this actually started? This actually started a diplomatic play, right? And this is how all diplomatic events happen. Whereas for a little bit of time, there's this sort of preparation. Now, what is a diplomatic play in Iberia? It basically shows the initiator and the receiver of the diplomatic play. And what do we have? First of all, opening moves, right? The opening moves phase is the first phase of a diplomatic play. In this phase, the target gets to set their primary war goal, and both initiator and target can claim additional war goals using maneuvers, right? Now, we are a minor power. We saw that. That is what gives us those maneuvers, right? So minor power, for example. It gives us plus 60 maneuvers per diplomatic play, right? So that means we can, like right now, we can sort of add goals and etc. Right now here, though, to be honest, like there isn't much leeway in what war goals we add right here. In fact, we can't even add anything. This diplomatic play does not allow adding additional war goals. Yeah, it's very simple. Their primary demand is to annex Portugal, right? And they won't end the game for us. It will just mean that they will become much more powerful and current interest groups become less powerful, and they will stop enacting homesteading and preserve tenant farmers that way through armed uprising. Our goals are obviously to annex the Portuguese aristocratic revolt, which is now controlling the state of Beira. Right, we can switch sides in revolution, right? So current government would become landowners. This is kind of for gameplay purposes. If you wanted, for example, I know later on you have trade unions and you have communist uprising, and you want to place the communists, you just switch sides to the revolutionary side, and then you will play with that one single state versus the rest of Portugal. We want to remain on the side we're at, on the right side. But here's this short summary that they have 2 flotillas, we have 5. These are obviously always mobilized. That's our 7 flotillas got split, right? Obviously, we maintain more of those because we control most of the Portuguese territory. They have 60 maneuvers. We have 60 maneuvers. We have 0. They have 0 battalions mobilized, but they have 2 under their control, again, because there are 2 barracks in this state. And we have 8 battalions, none of them mobilized, right? Now, leaning on the fence. So this kind of shows a summary of basically the next screen. And if we go here, we have the initiator and the target. So Great Britain is actually leaning towards Portugal, so they're more likely to support us rather than these guys. You know, France has at least one sway that France would accept. Interesting. So we can't sway them just yet, but this just shows us the initial kind of disposition, right? No sway that Russia would accept. You see, but these are on the fence anyway. They could still, you know, if they were real players, they could always go and support outright, or they could just lean towards. Now, what does leaning towards mean? It doesn't really do anything. If they were to side with us, to support us, then when the war breaks out, they would actually come as our ally on our side. But simply leaning doesn't really do anything other than letting you think, like, okay, how is this really going to play out if this diplomatic play is drawn to conclusion and war actually erupts? And the reason that's important is because either in single player or multiplayer game, you can actually abandon this play. I think, well, you'll be able to do that in the kind of second phase. And that just means you agree to whatever the goals are. And that could be the same for your opponent, which basically means, you know, diplomatic plays, you kind of openly threaten or that, you know, this will happen, whatever it is, right? And typically it's war, right? For, you know, give me this state. And, you know, the other side could actually back down if it sees that, look, the other side is much stronger itself, right? In these sort of disposition of forces. And it has a lot of international support. You just give up, and you just give up that state, and there is no war. There is a truce, where you effectively just kind of move on with your lives. So let's go ahead and kind of unpause, right? We have escalation continuing. Now, what this actually allows us to do, if we go to our army, we're going to go ahead and mobilize, right? And that means actually, you know, get these troops mad already. That does take some time, but it's fairly quick. Now, we have options now to deploy to front, which we will do. Right, that is what will enable these guys to actually fight. We're going to go to our military and we say designate strategic objectives. We obviously have one objective here, is to retake the state of Beira and crush the rebels. We have a Russian small arms shortage. 4 buildings affected by the shortage. Okay. Well, how about we import some from, for example, what's the most American market. All right. Well, let's try to get that in. Okay. And there we are. So now our troops have mobilized themselves, and then they will travel to this front. Let's have a look. We're mobilizing. We're 87% mobilizing. It is also true that in a diplomatic play, so you see now they're a bit uncertain now because we have mobilized 5 troops, right? Because you can, you know, once you mobilize, you start taking attrition losses and you start spending money, right? And this still takes kind of a few months to play out. But this can show, it both works against AI in single player or in multiplayer, just how serious you are. Because if you just start a play but you never mobilize, that kind of says, okay, you're not really committed to this, right? But you can still see it through to the end, have the war erupt, unfortunately, right? And then mobilize. That's possible. But in order to show them, you know, you mean business, right? You might as well mobilize straight away. Yeah, we have mobilized. They have mobilized 3 battalions already. Okay, they're clearly building barracks. Perhaps we should do the same. We can go construction. This is another way to do construction. Sorry, excuse me. Political. Oh, wait, hang on. Why? Create. No. I want to create an army. What I do want is to find a quick way to build barracks, which doesn't look like there is actually a quick way to build the barracks. Fine. We shall do so manually. Then we have 113 peasants here, so we could. Wait. So the way you build barracks, right? So you can't build it out of the screen here. So that's what I was looking for. So we can't build out of screen here because our troops need to be assigned to a particular army, and that means when we go to our military, we go to 3rd Portuguese Army, and then we say, hey, we need more battalions, right? We'll say recruit line infantry, and we will go Extremadura 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say, right? And we'll put those in. They're quite quick to build. Again, that's, to be honest, another way to quickly employ people is to build up the military. But of course, it will cost you. That's why we didn't do it at the very start. Because A, we don't really need the army, right? And it will obviously chew at your budget deficit. It's not huge, right? So it's 2 battalions cost us 570. So if we build 5 more, well, to be honest, that's another, 1,500 or so. So it's not great, but we can support a bigger military once this war is over, and it won't hurt either, given we are kind of hopefully growing more powerful soon. Right, so it's okay. We can build those up. Let's go ahead and press play. Right, so we are mobilized. They have actually, yeah, so they've built one extra battalion, mobilized it. We're still stronger than them, which makes them uncertain. So there is a chance now that we're in the second phase, when in the skate, right, in the phase of escalation, Zanj interest to activate. We may no longer be able to participate in diplomatic plays, conduct diplomacy, create trade routes. Why is that? Oh, that's because we lost this, because we are a minor power. Okay, that's interesting. I think this is because we are in a civil war, because we lost Beira. We must have lost some sort of cloud. Interesting. Hang on. Let's just see this through, because I'm not even understanding this. So one from minor power. That's what we get from being a minor power, but we also get some from power, navy and power projection. And right now we've maybe lost a bit of military, or maybe our military is mobilized, so we lose that, projection. It seems like value, while the troops are mobilized, and therefore we lost that interest. So if anything is going on in Zanj right now, we can't react to it, right? Despite it's despite it being a region of strategic interest to us. Now let's go ahead and unpause. Now we could, yeah. Now it's possible that Great Britain will sway towards us. We could sway with become subject, sway with. So you see, so yeah, they could support us outright on their own volition, but often, why I always see this, this green thumbs up means that there's something we can give them, or something we can do. For example, we are in a defensive alliance, so we could sway with call ally. Right? An ally is a country which maintains an alliance or defensive pact with another country and can be called to support them in diplomatic plays. For the initiator, only countries with a full alliance are considered to be allies in the diplomatic play. Yeah. See, if we were the initiator, we would need to be in an alliance to sway Great Britain. But because we are in a defensive pact, we can still sway them here because we are the target of a diplomatic play. So we could just go, right, call them. That will cost us 20 maneuvers. They will accept because we have a good relationship with them. So let's go ahead and call our ally. Why do I want to do that? Because there is possible. There we go. Great Britain sides with Portugal. Right. So they will now be. See, so total mobilized on our side. That's now us plus Great Britain. Now they are confident. Ooh, this is not good. This is not good. Now that we got Britain involved, we also got Prussia involved in here. That is not great, to be honest. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. Perhaps, yeah. So now that we have great powers involved. Oh dear. Okay, well, let's try and get France. Sway with transfer states. Ooh. Which states would that be? Nova Goa. Oh, no, we're not giving up Nova Goa to France just to get them in here. Well, this is now... Okay, this has now taken a darker turn. Now, I'm hoping Prussia will not be able to actually transfer troops to Portugal because they don't have a lot of naval power. So I'm hoping Great Britain will be able to just blockade him here, and we'll just take these guys over quickly. Yeah, right. Oh, but what I also hope for. Oh God, this is just taken on a very dark turn. That Great Britain has 145 battalions, 0 mobilized. We have 8 battalions now, but we do have all of them mobilized. So I don't know why it's not telling us that. Yeah, I think, yeah, okay, they are mobilizing. I mean, Great Britain is mobilizing also. Oh dear. Oh dear. I don't think we also managed to build those paper mills either. Okay, although maybe that construction progress. Oh, they are building them. Oh, God. Yeah, that was wasted. That was kind of like 300 construction just wasted because they've seceded. Oh dear, this is not good. Okay, Great Britain is mobilizing properly. Yeah, okay. We may have inadvertently started a mini world war here. Christ. All because we just want some homesteading. It's fine. That is the price of progress. Now, we do have all of our troops. Let's just go ahead and pause here for a second. We do have all of them mobilized. They have been deployed to a front. They have been given a strategic objective. And if we then also click on our commander here, we can give them different orders. And our order is to advance, right? Because we are stronger. How do we know we're stronger? Well, if we look at this little number here, so Beira, Extremadura front. So Beira, Extremadura, the two provinces bordering each other, right? We have 8 battalions, 7.8 thousand men, and they have 3 battalions, but only 2.1 thousand men on there. We have average 25 average offense defense. They have 21. So we have more people, and we are and, you know, more men there. We're stronger. Oh, Britain moving up somewhere. I'm really hoping. But, yeah. Oof, yeah, but we have Britain here as well, just in case. Yeah, I'm hoping that they blockade Prussia and making it unable to actually deliver troops to this front. If we go to our navy, let's have a look at that. I actually haven't had a lot of experience with navy myself, but here we are. We have 5 flotillas. We have Marinha Real Portuguesa fleet stationed in Iberia. We have Admiral Antonio Manuel de Noronha commanding this fleet. We have 3 frigates and 2 man-of-wars in it. Now, what can we actually do with it? Let's have a look. So it's stationed in an HQ in Iberia. Okay. Deploy to sea node. This determines the position of the Marinha Real Portuguesa, while you can change specific orders on the assigned admirals. Plan a naval invasion. Now let's deploy to sea node, and I suggest we employ him here, because this is where the Prussians might come through, I think, in order to land and make their way to Beira, right? Let's deploy them here. We can have a look what this is. We have 5 flotillas, 5,000 manpower, morale. Yeah, so all similar stats to the army. Again, offense, defense here. Yeah, so these are the buildings that are supplying these flotillas. Yeah, what else could we do? So we click on this guy, intercepting. Yeah, what are his orders? He's got, so seek out and destroy any enemy vessels. We can raid, reduce the strength of an enemy supply network by raiding their convoys. So if any convoys pass along this node, we'll try to raid them. These are convoys that kind of carry out trade for the, or maybe support, you know, supply the troops that are overseas. Raid convoys, yeah, escort our convoys, right? So basically counter enemy raids. We'll go with interception, right? To make sure. I'm hoping that this will stop any troops potentially being transferred to our front. Now, popular playwright endorses reform, advance event for the enactment of homesteading. In the midst of the debate surrounding homesteading, one of the country's leading playwrights, strongly associated with the intelligentsia, has staged a widely acclaimed play whose politically laden theme makes no secret of the author's desire for the law to be passed. The man's viewpoints must be somewhat partisan, but sir, you can argue with his prose. Now, homesteading will be on everyone's lips now. We can get 10% enactment success chance. This sure puts the intelligentsia in a good light, so we can get 10% interest group pop attraction for 5 years. Or we can let us ensure the play gets a wider international audience, and that gives us 20 prestige. Now again, as we saw in our playthrough with Serbia, this is a great source of prestige. So we could increase our prestige by almost 50% with it permanently for the rest of the game, right? As well as apply any bonuses, like 5% for romanticism. So our success chance is already pretty high, 45%. That's good enough. And, you know, we're not going to be avoiding civil war anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and ensure the play gets a wider international audience, right? Bringing us closer to becoming that major power, hopefully, once we actually manage to build up our GDP. And here it is. Here's our flotilla here. Yeah, in this node. Hopefully intercepting any Prussian. Morocco declares neutrality. We had an airborne. Miguel de Braganca, heir to the throne. Miguel de Braganca, heir to the throne of Portugal, has been born. Excellent. Prussian-British rivalry declared. Okay, oof, wow. Okay, this is getting... Oh, they're mobilizing many more men than we have. Okay, well, that's it. It's a countdown to war. We could... Okay, I guess there's no actually abandoning the play here, because we're not going to just give up the government. And normally, you would be able to abandon a diplomatic play and just give in, basically, before the war actually... War starts, give in to the... Ooh, Austria declares neutrality, thank God. Okay, well, it's just us and Great Britain versus them and Prussia. To be honest, we're better off not calling Britain in, because that's what made Prussia decide to get involved. That was kind of unnecessary, which was just... Oh, too late now. The revolution play in Iberia has resulted in a war between you and Portuguese aristocratic revolt. To arms. There we are. So immediately we are on this front. And we will see. We'll see they kind of stand in front, and they will initiate a battle since we've given our troops an order to advance. Right, we can look at this. You and your allies advancement progress. So yeah, so we're advancing. This kind of progress to the next battle, right? So our troops are moving into enemy territory. Right, we're moving into their territory because we have the order to advance, and there go, a battle erupts. Right, that's us versus them. This is the kind of gauge of morale. We have more offense than they have defense. We are on the attack. Plus, we have careful maneuver, minus 10% casualties taken, minus 10% morale loss. The commander's slow and deliberate approach is manifest in the strategy adopted in this battle, whereas they suffer from poor visibility due to the environment, weather conditions, and positioning. This side has a bad view of the enemy. There you go, that's helping us. We started the battle with 7,500 men. We've taken, 89 people, or almost 100 people dead, 200 wounded, 500 just demoralized. We're inflicting more casualties on them, however. Remember, they only have 2.1 thousand men, and they already had 200 die and 450 are wounded. That's boom, that's going to be a pretty decisive battle here. Oh, we have actually even British troops potentially supporting us soon, or maybe even making their own advance. Oh, they are camouflaged now, so they're 10% army defense, whereas we have broken supplies now, plus 25% morale loss. But that unexpectedly difficult terrain has caused supply lines to temporarily break down, whereas the commanders has leveraged experience with the local terrain to reduce visibility to the enemy. So they have higher defense now, we have lower offense, we're going to take more casualties, we should still advance, just a lot slower. But yep, we've lost, almost, well, it probably looks like going to be almost 1,000 men in dead and wounded. Wounded will come back, so casualties that are merely wounded in battle or due to attrition. Some wounded casualties recover and return to active service after some time, while others end up as dependents of other POPs in your country. We will see, the casualties here will not be huge, but generally, when we talked about POPs, right, and the ratio of workforce to dependents, which is mostly about 25% of a POP is workforce, 75 are dependents, that ratio can get skewed if we have high casualties, right? Because who's fighting wars? It's obviously the able-bodied males, right? They're the ones doing the dying. And there we go. We have a victory. Winner is Portugal. Occupation. So we progressed 25%, right? If we had cavalry in here, this figure would be a little bit higher, by sort of 30% or so. So we would progress faster, as I said. Start of battle. Austria sides with Great Britain. Austria sided with Great Britain in diplomatic play against South Australian liberal revolt. Yeah, we're quashing revolutions all over. Well, they're quashing the liberals and we're quashing the aristocrats. And there we are. So you see now again, if we just click on this front again, we advance. Us and our allies advance. There's another active battle where it's British together with us. Advancing on General Teofilio, advancing on the Portuguese aristocratic revolt. And this is kind of happens, right? So we have advancement, a battle ensues. Either we win or lose, we gain territory, where we kill some of them, and then we keep advancing, keep advancing, keep advancing. Now, how do we actually win the war? The way to win a war is to have the war support for one of the sides decline to minus 100, right? How does that happen? So we both start with 100, right? So initial war support is plus 100, and then it declines every week or every day even perhaps. What stock exchange? Hang on, let's just pause. Stock exchange unlocked first of all, an organized market where stocks and bonds can be bought and sold. The stock exchange is a central element of the modern market economy. Plus 10% market access price impact, excellent. Minus 25% trade route bureaucracy cost. Again, great for our trading empire. Although most of our trade routes are with Britain, whom we have a trading agreement, therefore it doesn't require any bureaucracy to maintain. But I will explain what market access price impact is and why it's important, and it's a really, really good thing. So great to see this spread so early in the game to us. But going back to the war, right? So I think it's every week we suffer some some declines in war support. Where does it come from? It comes from exhaustion. In 2 days, we'll get 0.61 exhaustion. Why? Because we have 3,000 casualties suffered compared to max military size of 13,000, right? And their side has lost 0% of battles. So that's for us. Hang on, let's wait to my empiricism now spreading to us. Okay, we'll see what that gives us. Whereas, so that's for us, right? So are we losing a little bit of our war support as war drags on? They're losing much more, right? So they've already lost 26, right? In 2 days, they will get another minus 15 due to exhaustion. Why is that? Enemy occupation 100%. So that's it. We've occupied, after a couple of battles, we occupied the entire aristocratic revolt. And it's an entire province of Beira. So, right, their war support should now be falling. And hopefully, we continue to occupy and the Prussians are not able to deliver their troops here. Let's go ahead and speed up. Just hoping to finish this war in this episode. Yeah, but you'll see, that is kind of the summary of the war so far. Right, this is the disposition of forces. Right now, we have lost 4,000 men dead. Although it's together with Great Britain. Right, so Great Britain, to attrition, they lost 1.7 thousand. Portugal we lost 1.2 thousand to attrition. And in battle, you can see we only lost half as many men in actual battles. Right, attrition is very important. And it's one of the reasons you don't want to mobilize too early, especially if your army is huge. But at the same time, you do want to mobilize early in the diplomatic play because you want to show the other party that you mean business. Lathes have been unlocked. Lathe is a machine for rotating a piece of metal, be it metal or wood, piece of material, be it metal or wood, so that it can easily be machined into the desired shape. That unlocks dye workshops for textile mills, right? Producing basically more clothes using dyes. Lathes for furniture manufacturers, that's what's important. Or leaded glass for glassworks. And we'll see if that helps us in any way. Most likely not quite yet. Naval invasion in East Prussia. Ooh, Great Britain has really taken this seriously. Now you see, so every week passes, and these guys lose a lot of war support. Once this goes down to minus 100, they will capitulate. Knowledge of intensive agriculture started to spread to us. Excellent. Another great production tech. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Minus 15. So every week, right, in 6 days, yeah, every week they lose 15. So this war should only last. Logging camps expanded in Extremadura. Okay, we're now building those barracks, strengthening our military. Kind of late now, but I guess we'll take it. Yeah, maybe not strictly necessary, but who knows what else will happen in the future. And we do need to build up our army so we can actually, participate in these diplomatic plays ourselves. Go paddle steamer unlocked. The paddle steamer is a steam-powered watercraft where the steam is used to turn paddles that pushes the ship through water. 10% Navy offense and Navy defense lead to screw frigate. Excellent. That's spread for us for free. Law advancement. Homesteading has attracted new supporters, increasing enactment success by 15. That is basically an advanced event, but it's not quite a kind of detailed event like we saw before where we actually have a choice. It's just a flat kind of increase to success chance, and that's that. So let's go ahead, maybe like a couple of weeks. Let me just speed this up. Yep, so there you go. So they've gone to minus 100 war support, and therefore a peace treaty was forced upon them. Right? We've forced all of our war goals on them, signed on 18th September 1839. So okay, right? The following war goals were enforced. We annexed Beira. Now what has actually happened? Armed forces, veteran consultation, it's got deactivated. Napoleonic warfare is spreading to us. Okay, landowners, noble privileges activated because they are angry. Noble privileges deactivated. Okay, rural folk, honest work activated. This is due to their approval of loyal. Now we have 10 agriculture ranches and plantations. Throughput, rural folk, farmers market activated. Plus 10% infrastructure everywhere because they are loyal. Why are they loyal? Because they endorse the current law change. They really like homesteading, right? No surprise, right? And they endorse the recent change from local to dedicated police force. Right? Everyone's pretty happy. Catholic Church is now powerful. That is because, look at this, landowners, after having been defeated in a civil war, look at this, their clout is now 0. Why? Because minus, aside from all the people that support them with all the wealth, but it's still minus 99, almost 100% loser in revolutionary struggle. All of that clout has been, at least for this time being, been redistributed to other interest groups, right? And that's mostly Catholic Church and Petite Bourgeoisie. The Catholic Church is now powerful. Petite Bourgeoisie is now powerful. That means their bonuses are double. Now, if we just get more loyalists in there, we could actually activate the second of those traits, especially for Catholic Church, right? And all of these have been activated. So there we are, guys. That's the end of the Civil War, but we've come to the end of this episode, come up on the hour. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope the revolutionary mechanic, didn't think it would come up this early in the game, but it has, and made for a little bit of excitement. Our armies have now immediately demobilized, and so we don't have to pay for their increased maintenance to put them out in the field. Some people died, unfortunately, but you see, we'll still need to pass homesteading properly. So that, you know, winning that war, that civil war, doesn't mean homesteading just automatically passed, but it did mean that all of the stall chance has gone away, right? Because the faction that started the civil war, again, as we saw, is suffering from a minus 100% effectively penalty to their clout. So we should definitely be able to pass this in the next episode. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.